Hello Midnights. Thank you for tuning in. Up next, Pandora's Box, a myth of hope and despair. Let us know where you are listening from and don't forget to subscribe. The ancient Greek myth of Pandora's Box, a narrative meticulously woven into the fabric of Hesiod's didactic poem Works and Days, circa 700 BCE, transcends a mere cautionary tale. It stands as a foundational and profoundly symbolic exploration of humanity's intricate and often fraught relationship with suffering, the irresistible pull of curiosity, and the enigmatic, enduring nature of hope. Far more than a simple moralistic fable designed to warn against disobedience or the consequences of temptation, this myth functions as a potent allegorical framework. It invites deep contemplation on the metaphysical origins of evil in the world, the inescapable and often harsh consequences of divine retribution, and the often inexplicable, yet persistent, resilience of the human spirit. Its enduring power and universal resonance lie in its capacity to encapsulate profound truths about the human condition and the very fabric of existence that transcend its specific cultural and historical origins. To fully grasp the profound implications of Pandora's myth, one must understand the holistic background story that preceded her creation, rooted in the shifting cosmological order. According to Hesiod's narratives, humanity initially inhabited a golden age, an era characterized by idyllic innocence, spontaneous abundance, and a profound freedom from disease, toil, or the chilling specter of death. In this pristine state, men and gods coexisted more intimately, and life unfolded with effortless grace, unburdened by the complexities and sorrows that would later define human existence. This harmonious existence was irrevocably disrupted by the actions of Prometheus, the cunning titan, whose name itself signifies forethought. Having strategically sided with Zeus during the cataclysmic Titanomachy, Prometheus later emerged as a compassionate advocate for fledgling mankind, whom he is credited with having either directly fashioned or significantly elevated. Observing humanity's rudimentary, vulnerable state, shivering and bereft, he engaged in an act of profound compassion, or, from Zeus's perspective, an audacious act of insubordination. He stole fire, embodying divine knowledge, creative power, and a transformative energy, from the Olympian gods, either from Zeus's lightning bolt or Hephaestus's forge, and surreptitiously gifted it to mortals. This sacred fire represented not merely warmth and light, but the very spark of civilization, the catalyst for technological advancement, artisanal craft, and intellectual illumination, enabling humanity to ascend beyond a mere animalistic, instinct-driven existence. This act of divine transgression, perceived by Zeus as the ultimate challenge to his supreme authority and an egregious act of human hubris, a direct and deliberate violation of the divinely ordained cosmic order, demanded a punishment that was not only proportionate but also lasting and systemic. It was to affect not just Prometheus, who was famously chained to Mount Caucasus, condemned to have his immortal liver perpetually devoured by an eagle, but the entirety of mankind, who had been the beneficiaries of the illicit gift. Zeus's chosen instrument for this cosmic rebalancing in the definitive, sorrowful end of the Golden Age was a concept he termed a beautiful evil, Kappa Alpha Lambda Nu Kappa Alpha Kappa Nu, Kalon Kakon, Pandora, the first woman. She was meticulously crafted by Hephaestus, the divine smith, from primal earth and life-giving water, a synthesis of the mundane and the vital. Each Olympian deity contributed to her formation, imbuing her with both irresistible allure and insidious peril, thereby making her a complex embodiment of divine power, human desire, and preordained destiny. Athena clothed her in resplendent silver garments and taught her intricate handicrafts, symbolizing the burgeoning human capacity for artistry and ingenuity. Aphrodite endowed her with irresistible grace, charm, and the power to evoke deep longing, representing the seductive forces of beauty and desire that can both elevate and ensnare. And Hermes, the cunning messenger god, bestowed upon her a quick wit, the power of persuasive speech, and, crucially, a deceptive nature, making her a figure of both enchantment and potential trickery. Her very name, Pandora, meaning all gifted or all giving, ironically and tragically foreshadows the double-edged nature of her existence, as she was a vessel designed to bring forth not only apparent blessings but also ultimate, widespread misfortune. Her creation was a deliberate snare, a meticulously premeditated act designed by the king of the gods to introduce discord, suffering, and hardship into mankind's previously idyllic existence, a world blissfully untouched by sorrow. Epimetheus, Prometheus's less cautious and more impulsive brother, whose name means hindsight, tragically lived up to his appellation. Despite his siblings' stark warning never to accept gifts from Zeus, he was captivated by Pandora's alluring beauty and took her as his wife, thereby, through his own folly, unwittingly sealing humanity's lamentable fate. The pivotal element of the myth, and the direct catalyst for humanity's fall from grace, is the pithos. While commonly referred to as Pandora's box, this is, in fact, one of the most prevalent and impactful misunderstandings of the myth. In Hesiod's original Greek text, the container was explicitly a pithos, by theta omicron sigma, a large, earthen storage jar typically used for wine, oil, or grain, and sometimes for burials. The widespread mistranslation to box, Latin pyxis, is largely attributed to the 16th century humanist Erasmus of Rotterdam, who, in his retelling of Hesiod's tale in Latin, used pyxis in place of pithos. This seemingly minor linguistic shift fundamentally altered the visual imagery and, to some extent, the symbolic weight of the myth for subsequent generations. A jar, often half-buried and associated with sustenance or even the underworld, carries different connotations than a small, ornate box. This formidable vessel was given to Pandora by Zeus himself, accompanied by a strict, divine injunction never, under any circumstances, to open it. Its very existence, and the prohibition surrounding it, served as an irresistible lure. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, a trait explicitly attributed to her divine creation, perhaps intended as an inherent human flaw to be awakened, or even a preordained destiny fulfilling Zeus's intricate punitive scheme, Pandora succumbed to the overwhelming, primal temptation. She lifted the heavy lid, and from the jar, with a terrifying rush and a palpable sense of chaos, spilled forth all the evils, sorrows, diseases, and hardships that thenceforth plagued humanity without end: physical pain, the inevitability of death, the brutality of war, the ravages of famine, the scourge of pestilence, the grinding burden of toil, the debilitating decay of old age, and the insidious torment of madness, each an anathema to humanity's former peace. These malevolent, abstract forces, having been contained in a singular vessel, now scattered indiscriminately across the earth, air, and seas, afflicting mankind for eternity. The world, once a realm of relative innocence and effortless ease, was now irrevocably altered, transformed into a realm of struggle, suffering, and existential dread, where humanity was forced to contend with its own frailties and the harsh realities of a fallen world. In a desperate, almost reflexive act, born of shock and a nascent understanding of the catastrophe she had wrought, as the very last of the evils swirled out and before she could comprehend the full magnitude of her action, Pandora managed to slam the lid shut. Within the emptied pithos, amidst the swirling remnants of released misery, only one remaining entity was trapped: Elpis, or hope. This singular, seemingly small detail profoundly shapes the myth's interpretation and lends it much of its enduring philosophical weight and psychological complexity. The presence of hope, even after the unleashing of myriad misfortunes and the inundation of the world with suffering, offers a crucial, albeit incredibly fragile, glimmer of light in the profound darkness. It suggests that even in the face of insurmountable suffering and omnipresent hardship, humanity retains the capacity for expectation, for psychological endurance, and for the persistent belief in a better future, however distant or improbable. Some interpretations posit that hope remained trapped inside the jar precisely to prevent humanity from being utterly overwhelmed by absolute despair, serving as a constant, albeit unseen, comfort, a small, flickering flame against the encroaching gloom that would otherwise extinguish the very will to live. Others, however, offer a darker, more cynical view, echoing Nietzsche's sentiment that hope is the worst of evils, for it prolongs the torments of man. From this perspective, hope, too, is a form of suffering, a persistent torment of unfulfilled desires, forever teasing humanity with possibilities that may never materialize, thereby making the present misery all the harder to bear, a cruel illusion that prevents true acceptance of the world's harsh reality. This profound ambiguity surrounding hope's true nature, is it a blessing that sustains or a curse that binds? Is a testament to the myth's deep psychological and philosophical penetration into the human psyche. The myth of Pandora's box resonates across cultures and centuries due to its profound symbolic weight and its universal themes that touch upon the fundamental questions of human existence. It can be seen as a striking Greek parallel to the biblical story of Eve and the forbidden fruit, both narratives exploring remarkably similar themes of disobedience, the catastrophic loss of an idyllic state, paradise or the Greek Golden Age, and the introduction of suffering and mortality into the human experience, often through the agency of a female figure. While modern interpretations often critique the potential misogynistic undertones of blaming a woman for the world's ills, a common trope in ancient patriarchal societies, the core themes of curiosity, consequence, and the inherent nature of good and evil remain universally applicable, transcending this specific gendered narrative. Furthermore, the myth serves as a powerful etiology, a foundational explanation for the existence of evil, pain, and misfortune in the world, a fundamental existential question that has preoccupied philosophers, theologians, and common people throughout human history. It explains humanity's abrupt, tragic fall from a simpler, less burdened existence into a world fraught with relentless trials and tribulations, where toil and death are inevitable companions. Beyond its theological and ideological implications, Pandora's box also serves as a potent metaphor for the dangers of unchecked curiosity and the irreversible consequences of human actions. Once unleashed, the evils cannot be recalled or contained, mirroring the permanent and often widespread impact of certain choices, be they individual transgressions born of impulse or collective societal decisions driven by ambition. The opening of the pithos signifies a pivotal, irreversible moment, a turning point from which there is no return to the previous state of innocence or ignorance. This reflects the deep human understanding that certain actions, once taken, forever alter the landscape of existence. Yet, paradoxically, it also underscores the enduring and often irrational power of hope. Despite the overwhelming presence of suffering and the myriad ways in which life can inflict pain, the potential for betterment, for resilience, for renewal, and for imagining a future free from current hardships persists. This inherent duality, the inescapable intertwining of despair and optimism, of cosmic punishment and human coping, makes the myth perpetually relevant. It stands as a poignant reminder of the delicate and often agonizing balance that defines the human condition. It forces us to confront our limitations and the painful realities of existence while simultaneously clinging to the promise of tomorrow, a future that might, by sheer force of will, be better. The historical echoes and societal reflections of the Pandora's box myth are pervasive, revealing how deeply ingrained its themes are in the human experience. The notion of a golden age lost due to a single transgression, for instance, resonates with the decline of various historical civilizations or eras perceived, in retrospect, as periods of greater harmony or prosperity, often attributed to specific turning points or fall from grace moments. The myth's cautionary tale against unchecked curiosity finds direct parallels in the unforeseen consequences of scientific and technological advancements throughout history. The Industrial Revolution, while propelling humanity forward, simultaneously unleashed societal evils such as pervasive urban poverty, harsh labor conditions, and widespread environmental degradation, issues whose full impact was not understood until generations later. Similarly, the development of the atomic bomb in the 20th century opened a veritable Pandora's box of global existential threat, leading to the Cold War and a perpetual fear of nuclear annihilation, a direct outcome of humanity's audacious scientific curiosity. In the modern era, the rapid proliferation of digital technology and artificial intelligence presents its own box of potential unintended consequences, ranging from privacy erosion and misinformation to job displacement and ethical dilemmas concerning autonomous systems. Beyond historical parallels, the myth remains strikingly relevant to current global events and contemporary issues. The pervasive threat of climate change can be viewed through the lens of Pandora's box, humanity's relentless pursuit of industrial and technological advancement, fueled by curiosity and ambition, has inadvertently opened a complex web of environmental disasters, extreme weather, rising sea levels, biodiversity loss, whose full implications are still unfolding. Here, the evils are not abstract concepts but tangible, destructive forces, and the question of how much hope, Elpis, remains to mitigate or reverse these effects is a critical global debate. Similarly, the experience of global pandemics, such as COVID-19, brought forth a sudden unleashing of illness, fear, and economic disruption on an unprecedented scale, mirroring the chaotic release from the pithos. The initial surprise and subsequent struggle to contain these evils highlight the fragility of human systems and the ongoing need for collective resilience and hope. A particularly compelling modern analogy for Pandora's pithos is the digital frontier itself. When humanity first opened this digital box, it promised unprecedented global connectivity, boundless information, and revolutionary advancements, seemingly invaluable gifts destined to elevate human experience. However, much like Pandora's jar, this venture has inadvertently unleashed a cascade of unforeseen evils into the global sphere. We now grapple with rampant misinformation and disinformation campaigns that erode trust and polarize societies, akin to an intellectual plague. The insidious spread of cyberbullying, online harassment, and hate speech mirrors the emotional and social sorrows that escaped. Furthermore, the pervasive nature of digital addiction, the widespread erosion of personal privacy, and the complex ethical dilemmas posed by advanced artificial intelligence systems represent the intricate, intertwined diseases and madness of our interconnected age. Yet, even within this modern digital pithos, Elpis, or hope, still remains. It manifests in the global efforts to foster digital literacy, develop ethical AI guidelines, build resilient and inclusive online communities, and leverage these very technologies for positive social change, humanitarian aid, and groundbreaking scientific collaboration. Just as Pandora's original act irrevocably changed the course of human existence, our collective exploration of the digital box has fundamentally reshaped civilization, presenting us with new challenges that demand constant vigilance, collective responsibility, and the enduring presence of hope to navigate. Moreover, the myth's subtle but undeniable gendered narrative, portraying Pandora as the conduit for humanity's suffering, reflects historical and sociological trends of misogyny and the patriarchal assignment of blame. This ancient archetype contributed to, and was reinforced by, historical periods where women were systematically marginalized, blamed for societal ills, or confined to restrictive roles, mirroring the myth's subtle implication that female agency could lead to chaos. In contemporary global movements for gender equality, there is an ongoing effort to dismantle such ancient biases and challenge narratives that perpetuate harmful stereotypes, seeking to reframe women's roles from being sources of evil to powerful agents of positive change. Finally, the metaphor of opening Pandora's box is frequently invoked in modern geopolitical and economic discourse to describe situations where a seemingly contained issue, if disturbed, could unleash a cascade of unpredictable and disastrous outcomes, such as the potential for global conflict arising from regional tensions or the systemic risks within complex financial markets that could trigger widespread economic instability. Thus, Pandora's box, far from being confined to antiquity, offers a timeless framework for understanding recurring patterns in human history and the complex interplay between human nature, divine will, and the unfolding drama of civilization, serving as a powerful interpretive tool for our ongoing global challenges. In conclusion, Pandora's box is far more than an ancient fable or a simple children's story. It is a timeless and profoundly multifaceted exploration of humanity's core existential dilemma. It confronts us directly with the origins of our woes and the inherent struggles of life while simultaneously offering the enigmatic solace of Elpis, a hope whose nature remains perpetually debated, whether it is ultimately a benevolent comfort that sustains us through adversity or a subtle torture that prolongs our suffering by preventing true acceptance. The myth's continued resonance and relevance lie in its profound ability to provoke introspection and reflection on our own actions, the intricate and often brutal nature of suffering, the weighty burden of consequence, and the indomitable, albeit sometimes fragile, spirit of hope that persists even when all else seems irrevocably lost. It urges us, through its enduring narrative, to find meaning and purpose amidst the chaos, to embrace the full spectrum of the human experience, and to strive for a future despite the burdens of the past. Given the myriad boxes we continue to open in our relentless pursuit of knowledge and progress, perhaps the most profound question the myth poses to us today is not simply what evils lurk within, but how responsibly we will steward the hope that remains, and whether we will collectively choose to wield it as a tool for creation or merely a palliative for our self-inflicted wounds.